welcome back to my channel. If you are new here and like the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button for more content. Thank you for watching. Hello everybody, welcome back to another part of the Allergy prank, and I'm actually quite proud of this one, so I hope you guys like it. Kiyotani dropped his phone, slightly frustrated. If he knew that he was going to get picked, he probably would have caused more of a scene. He even stayed silent this time. He shrugged off that nagging feeling in the back of his mind and packed his bag. It's not like he wanted to do this, really. He just didn't have a choice. His entire life he spent in the shadows, unintentionally following in his father's footsteps. He told himself that he never would, but times got tough, and he needed money. Even though he swore this wasn't what he was going to do because this is what got his father murdered, he still did it. He fastened the buckle on his helmet, throwing his bag over his shoulders before swinging his leg over his motorcycle. Surprisingly, it was only KyouHaba who knew what lengths the spy girl had to cross to get by. He knew this is just him helping out around the house, knowing his mother worked endlessly to keep a roof over their heads. Yet the blonde knew that this wasn't what he should be worrying about as a high schooler, but simply couldn't help himself. Maybe it was just paranoia, knowing at the back of his mind. He'd already lost his father. He didn't think he could bear losing that last thing that held him on the ground. Okay. I think I have everything. He double-checked before pulling out of the driveway. Normally, he'd meet up at his usual meetup spot, which was this abandoned housing area. However, realtors have finally decided to do something with the place, so he resorted to going to his client's place. His father was a well-known tattoo artist. While there is nothing bad at that, once his business went under due to the sudden rise in inflation, he also did resort to going to clients' places. Whenever he did have a business, he welcomed all, and after the unfortunate disaster of him losing his business, instead of attracting all, he seemed to draw in criminals and felons. Unfortunately, Kiyotani was no different. It was the only reason his father passed away. So he was actually able to get certified doing this, although he definitely didn't want to do this in an occupation like his father. He just didn't have a choice. He pulled into a street, housing littered with trash, beer cans visible by the naked eye. Even the entire neighborhood smelled of weed. Finally, he pulled into a driveway, this house looking no different from the others down the street, and knocked on the door before grabbing his things, making sure his bike was locked. Hello, I'm here for our appointment. It took a moment before the door swung open. A woman looked as if she was about to pass out opened the door. It's about time you showed up. Yeah, sorry for the delay. There was a lot of traffic. He apologized, even knowing that he was over a half an hour early. Well, come on now. We have to make up for lost time. Right. He entered the building, his nose scrunching in dissatisfaction at the horrid smell coming from this place. He pulled out all of his materials needed for the tattoo and silently cursed, realizing he forgot his box of disposable gloves he used for sterile precautions. Hey, you wouldn't happen to have any gloves, would you? I don't necessarily feel safe doing this without them. He just knew that there is more probability of him getting sued if something were to happen. Yeah, there should be some in the cabinet. He cringed, finding the crushed box with layers of dust coating the first few pairs. He dug towards the middle, finding a usable pair. Alright, did you prepare any numbing cream? The spine is usually a rough part, too. I think I'm stoned enough. Just get on with it. He wanted to lash out, knowing how reckless this was. As much as he wanted to, he couldn't, because he needed this job. So he bit back his words and smiled. Right, then let's get started. Almost 6 hours had passed, and he had finally finished his work of art on his client's back. He wasn't surprised when his client was in pain the entire time, since she never took his advice. After he collected the money, he was quick to leave the house, so quick that he forgot to take off his gloves. It wasn't until he stopped by a convenience store that he noticed an oddly painful itch that burned on his hands. He shrugged it off, scratching at his hand, but was stopped with the thin rubber on his hand. He paused. Fuck. He still had the gloves on, although that was the least of his worries. He was so worried, wanting to get the job over with, he'd forgotten his gloves and never stopped to ask what type they were. Welts formed from the vivid red blotches on his hands to the point he was in severe pain. He couldn't move them. Fuck, fuck, fuck. He groaned, leaning against the wall of the convenience store, cursing at his own ignorance. The slightest touch of anything sent his nerves into overdrive. KyouHaba. He spoke, thankful that phones were advanced enough to understand simple commands and perform as such. He slouched to the ground. After a few moments, he was relieved to hear the ladder pick up. Hello? Hey, do you still have that medicine I left at your place? There was a pause. You mean the one for the— Oh, what the fuck, KinKuni? Where are you? He chuckled underneath his breath, even though the toddler was yelling into the phone. There was no doubt he was worried sick. At the convenience store. The one by your place, luckily. Okay, I'll be there in 5. How bad is it? He looked at his hands that were shaking involuntarily, the welts and knives increasing in number and size. Not the worst. He spoke truthfully. One time when he was younger, he ventured too far into the woods and got covered in milky liquid that oozed from the wounds of tree bark, which is oddly enough where latex comes from. Those minutes dragged on, but KyouHaba's reassuring words kept the spiker at peace, sucking in deep breaths so he wouldn't panic. I'm here. Do you have water? He called out before even reaching the site, and after a small no left the spiker's lips, the setter dropped his stuff next to KinKuni and ran inside the store. Jeez, you could have at least stopped. He chuckled, once more internally thankful for him. This was one of the many, many things that made him fall in love with him. Yet, he wasn't someone that he could have. And it might always stay that way. He wouldn't think of himself any better than the monster. He was cruel. He was worse than any bully that would use his fist to do the talking. His words hurt those closest to him, even Shigeru. He wasn't worthy of love. So for now, he'll only accept his company as a friend, and a friend he'll only be. He has it so big for you, dude. No, he doesn't. How could you say that? I mean, he's perfect, and I'm me. I mean, I don't even think I'm capable of being loved, so why would he? Insecurity awakening? Not now. Look, you are a good person, and KyouHaba obviously sees it. I just hope one day you'll see what he sees. What we all see. Exactly. We all have our own flaws, but that's what just makes us human. Only the good people will accept you, and well, I think you found the right crowd. Yes, we are all quite crazy. I mean, who else would do pranks like these? Just know that you are loved. Thank you. Soft mad dog is adorable! That's it. Moment ruined. For that, Kendaichi goes next. Fine, but why pick Kunimi and not my girlfriend? You're gay, and you don't know it. What part of girlfriend don't you understand? You'll learn in due time. He sighed, throwing his phone back into his pocket. He'd had enough. He didn't understand why everyone in the chat kept on pestering him. He had a girlfriend, and frankly, he was happy. At least that's what he'd like to believe, if it weren't her for sudden change in behavior. There was a fine line between possessiveness and whatever this was. This was nothing but negative feelings built into a weak bond, nothing but pure loath and hatred. He genuinely couldn't tell if his girlfriend was doing this out of love or out of spite. He grimaced at the thought, peeling his sweaty shirt from his body. In the background, he could hear his girlfriend and her two friends that decided to come along, laughing. Again, he couldn't tell if this was a laugh of mockery or what. He was just relieved knowing that no matter what state his life was in, his friend KinKuni is always there for him. Even now, he was there, standing at the porch of the house while he was mowing the lawn. He knew his girlfriend was going to be present, yet didn't feel appeased at the idea of two strangers watching. He almost felt insecure. What if it was his appearance or weight that made him a laughingstock to them? What would he do then? He admits that he is well-toned and has muscle. That's all thanks to the tyrant middle school Kageyama who kept him on his feet. Yet, what if it isn't enough? What if he isn't enough? Hey, is everything okay? Kindaichi fixed his eyes on those kind and familiar hazel eyes. He hadn't even noticed Smelly leaving the porch step. Huh? You look pale. Are you okay? It was only then he realized his irregular breathing pattern. Was he really getting worked up over his own thoughts? Is he actually panicking? Oh yeah, I'm cool. I think I just need some water. It is a hot day after all, and I've been out here for a while. Yeah, it might be dehydration. I'll be back with water and some sunscreen. Your shoulders will thank me later. He laughed, already feeling the anxiety from moments prior fade away. There was just something about KinKuni that always put him at peace. He just didn't know what. What a joke. She snickered. Yeah, I seriously don't know how you put up with him. Don't you even know his history? The two girls laughed at the volleyball player, questioning the one that fell for him. Before she could respond, one of her friends spoke up. Wait, I have an idea. She ran over to the tree, kicking it. What are you doing? Just wait. She said in between each kick, and just a second later, there was a crash. KinKuni was quick to grab a bottle of water from the fridge and a tube of sunscreen from the kitchen counter. It would be an understatement to say that he wasn't worried for his friend, more like his crush, that was certainly one-sided. Even though he was conflicted with these one-sided feelings, it did not stop him from worrying about Kindaichi and his health. He'd been off for some time now. At first, he thought it could have just been a stomach bug, but it turned into something more. One day turned into a week, and that week turned into a month. His behavior and actions still haven't changed. He's off. And KinKuni was close to flipping his shit. Because he knows that whatever is happening to his friend, it's because of his girlfriend. Everything started because of her. He accidentally walked into one of their arguments, although he wouldn't really call it an argument. It was more like a one-sided screaming match, and it wasn't Kindaichi doing the screaming. KinKuni desperately wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, yet every damn time, his own doubts of her were proven correct. He was pulled from his thoughts when he heard a loud crash that sounded a lot like something breaking, and a scream. This time, it was the raven's voice. He dropped the bottle of water and ran faster than his own legs willed to. He never needed a reason to run in all of his life. It just wasn't worth it. It was too far. Too much work. Too hard. However, it was like a flip switch hearing that pained scream, laced with the oblivion agony he dreaded. He was out the door in a matter of seconds. His worry was immediately replaced with a bubbling rage that had boiled past the brim. Kindaichi was laid out on the half-mowed grass covered in bug stings while the three girls were on the edge of the lawn laughing. They were laughing. at his own pain. What in the actual hell happened? KinKuni ran to the taller's side, who was holding up at his collarbone at a relatively large sting. Yet, they were still laughing. Still. What the hell are you laughing at? You think this is fucking funny? There went him, keeping his cool. Oh, chill. It was just a joke. That last thread, keeping him sane, snapped. A joke? You think this is a joke? You think him being in pain is a fucking joke? At this point, he was shouting at the girls. At least now they were finally shutting up. KinKuni, it's fine. Fine? You think this is fine? They could have killed you. So no, this is not fucking fine. Look, we're sorry, so just chill out. The girl stepped forward, but the boy gave her a malice glare, making her freeze mid-step. His arm was wrapped around Kindaichi's now bright red skin from both the sun and stings and stuck in a protective stance. Don't you dare come any closer, or I won't be able to guarantee your safety. His voice came out as a low growl. It was only then that Kindaichi knew that the spiker was pissed. It's okay. I'm okay. It just startled me. KinKuni's piercing eyes softened, examining the swelling bumps on his skin before glaring back at the girls. I'd suggest you leave. The two girls left with Kindaichi's girlfriend still lingering. Are you really going to let him talk to me like that, you? No. She scoffed before turning her heel. Fine, call me later. We'll talk about this later. When she was gone, KinKuni's glare never resurfaced again. Jeez, you just reminded me to never go on your bad side. He chuckled, but regretted it instantly, feeling the pain flare up in his chest. What is it? KinKuni removed the latter's hand that gripped at his collarbone and sucked in a harsh breath of air. Fuck, Kin. The brunette pulled him up by the arm and dragged him inside, away from the heat. He groaned, sinking to the ground, relieved to feel the cold water bottle touching his forehead. Here, drink up and cool down. I'll be back. He went to turn towards the bathroom to gather supplies to attend to Toller's injuries when he was stopped by the latter's grip. Wait, don't go. He groaned once more, pulling his hand down so that he was directly next to him. What's wrong? Does it hurt? No. Just stay. He leaned his head down on KinKuni's shoulder, shutting his eyes. KinKuni placed his hand on the Toller's head. You're running a fever. Sorry, I don't do too well with wasps. The older brushed the raven locks out from his eyes. Are you allergic? No, there's no prank. What prank? The prank. He said, but fell asleep before he could explain any further. KinKuni just laughed it off. What a dork. If only he was more. So, who's with me on beating those 3 girls up? I feel mad. Those fuckers. I could get my mafia on them. Whoa, we can't hit girls. But I can. And I will. Do it. Aren't you supposed to stop this? Hey, as long as I don't see it, it didn't happen. Fair point. Who's next? I'll go. I have a plan. This was his time to shine. Kema went all out during his prank, so it's only fair that Kuro does the same for his prank. In fact, his plan was to be ruthless. Well, not so much. Luckily, a certain Russian giant owed him, since he was the one to help him during the drowning prank. Kuro has always struggled with an allergy that the setter knew all too well. He honestly belittled himself for it. If he was stronger and had a better immune system, maybe he wouldn't let something as puny as wheat take him down. Many had recommended to just go on a gluten-free diet, but what a lot of people don't know is that a gluten and a wheat allergy may be similar, but they are also different. Kuro had had his close calls and simply didn't want to risk it, so he stays clear of anything that contains wheat, even if it's gluten-free. Luckily, his reaction wasn't triggered unless he physically consumed it, and Kema knew this, so he had to be smart about this. And this is where love comes into play. The poor first year struggles with chemistry, and since that just so happened to be Kuro's strong suit, he offered to tutor the younger, which just so happens to be the time he plans to prank the setter. Even if it is just the two taller boys, Kema still insists on tagging along, especially after getting together, as a way of spending more quality time together, even if it was just Kema in the corner of the room playing his game while the latter teaches the younger. It became a routine. Hey, do you want to try a bite of my sandwich? It's really good. He shoved the piece of food towards the captain, with him instinctively curling his nose up in disgust. No thank you. I'm not that hungry. He looked over towards Kinma, who was surprisingly looking up from his game, inspecting the two boys' conversation. Are you sure? It's really good. Just try a bite. He shoved the sandwich towards him further to where it was almost touching his lips. If he doesn't want it, don't force him. He spat it out, glaring at Love. Who could blame him? He's seen firsthand what wheat does to him and thankfully respected the fact he didn't want the whole world to know of his allergy. He did, however, secretly tell Lev, for the sake of the prank and so it wouldn't go wrong. Right, sorry. Kema walked over and leaned onto Kuro's back. He returned the gesture by kissing the back of his hand and rubbing his thumb against the soft skin of his palm. Hey Ken, do you think you could get us some drinks? Of course. Want some ice? Please. I want ice. So one with ice and one without? Got it. He smiled, still slightly petty from Lev trying to push his lover into doing something that could harm him, yet he had to give him some thought, considering the giant didn't know any better. It's like a puppy. You can't expect a newborn pup to automatically know commands like sit or stay. Lev wasn't taught the importance of Kuro's allergy, so he wouldn't know. He left the room, filling both cups with ice, despite his own wishes. Meanwhile, Lev took a large bite from his sandwich, quickly munching on it before throwing it down. Okay, get into position. And what would the position be? Lev shrugged before swinging his fist back and nailing the raven in the stomach, making him double over with the air getting knocked out of his lungs. He leaned against the wall to compose himself, gasping for air. Kinma! You could have just said that. He grumbled underneath his breath. Well, this gives you an opportunity to be more in character. Seconds later, he heard the small footsteps approach and enter through the bedroom door. Kinma froze in his tracks, trying to process everything from Kuro wheezing, leaned up against the wall, to the sandwich on the floor, his amber eyes widened in realization. Tetsu? Did you eat that? Why did you eat that? You... What's going on? And it's not his fault. Kinma looked up from his boyfriend to the giant who had a guilty look plastered on his face. What did you do? You fed him my sandwich. I didn't think you would. You fucking moron! He's allergic! Even Kuro was surprised at the starter's outburst. This might be the most furious he'd ever seen him. He's... What? His voice cracked. The captain was immensely impressed with his acting skills. Like, give this man an Oscar. Just call for an ambulance. An ambulance? Is it that bad? Yes, call them! Once Lev left the room to what the latter assumed a call for help, Kenma ran his fingers through Kuro's hair, wiping the sweat from his brow in the process. You're going to be okay, Tetsu. Just breathe. Where's your pen? He was referring to his epinephrine pen, which eased the symptoms until help arrived. I don't know, he said in between each struggled breath, but he actually knew where it was. He wasn't stupid enough to not always have it on hand, he just didn't want it to actually be used. He accidentally injected himself one time, and it was an awful experience that he certainly wouldn't recommend to anyone do. His body felt all tingly, and his pulse was through the roofs, so he definitely didn't need that now. The blonde cursed, running around the room to wreck the place if need be to find the thing that could possibly save his boyfriend's life. Once Kenma got close to the actual hiding spot, Kuro started coughing like he were choking out air and began making gagging sounds. The action made the smaller run back over. Do you need the vomit? He normally did get nauseous during a reaction, so Kenma knew to get a trash can nearby. Lev, how far are they? He shouted out, but never got a response. Where was he? Here. Lay down. Kenma lowered the taller on his side, just to make sure he wouldn't choke, and went back to searching for the pen when he was stopped by the captain grabbing his wrist. It'll be okay, Tetsu. I just need to find it first, and then we can... He was cut off, getting yanked down on the floor, and got trapped in Kuro's arms. Tetsuro, let go! I need to find your pen, or you'll... I'm okay. Kenma stopped fighting and thrashing around in his grip and freezed. What? It was a prank. I'm okay. It was the second time within a 10-minute span that he got sucker punched in the stomach. A prank? This isn't a fucking prank! It isn't a joking matter, Tetsuro! Do you think it's funny watching the one you love dying? Huh? It's not fucking funny! Kenma. You know what? No. Kenma got out from off of the ground and shoved the captain away from him. He grabbed his games and school bag and went out for the door. Don't talk to me! Before Kuro could do anything, the bedroom door slammed closed, soon following by the front door. Well, fuck. The bedroom door slightly opened and the Russian giant peeked his head in. I'm assuming from the nasty glare I received and him storming out, it didn't go too well. No, it didn't. He fucked up. He blew it. Wow, that really went horrible. I didn't think he would get mad like that. Well, from what Hinata has told me, this wouldn't be the first time Kenma has experienced Kuro having a reaction. So you're implying he might be overaware? It would make sense. I'm the same way with Tadashi since he has low blood pressure. I always get anxious and have a need to look out for him. So, in other words, I probably traumatized him and fucked up. Yes. Fuck. Continue without me. I need to fix this. I'll go. Okay, that was the end of the fifth part. Yeah, this is the fifth part. It's literally on the thumbnail. Oh my gosh. So I will be able to get the sixth part out next month. Wait, no, it's technically April now. So in April, yes, the sixth part will be out. However, I will not be able to continue the series until after I get back from Germany. So in June, I will be able to post the 7th and 8th part. Sorry about that inconvenience. But let me know which part you liked. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you'd like to be kept up to date, check out any of my social medias. I hope that you all have a wonderful day or evening.